and His Will Ministries International presents Midweek Message. Well, today's midweek message, we're going to double back on our healing. I lightly touched on our inventions, so I wanted to go take like a little deeper dive, not too far in, but a little deeper dive into inventions. Now, we all know who Madam C.J. Walker is. She was like one of our first black millionaires. And Madam C.J. Walker, look at what she created, and now the hair care industry now is like a multi-million-dollar business globally. From her, like, business spawned all of this. And so we know about Dr. Charles Drew and how he created the blood transfusion, but he also invented a way to store blood so it could be transfused later. And so from his invention comes the Red Cross. Because of his invention, you can have surgery, and if you need blood, it'll be there because of his storage system, because of his creation. Dr. Charles Drew's creation spawned another multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industry, the blood plasma industry. You've noticed those blood plasma places popping up in our neighborhoods all over the country, and giving $50 and $30 for your plasma. Guess what? They're making billions from your plasma. Billions. Your plasma is being used in medicines and treatments for people for diseases we have no clue of. So, $1 billion industry off of this black man's invention. $1 million industry off this black woman's invention. And so you may not see our names prominently out there, but in many, many different things, we're in there in the architecture of it. Like, we're there from the ground floor, and then it builds up from what we brought. All right, I want to stop for a minute. I have a friend, Toppy, and he was always inventing stuff, but he never followed through with them. Top, I always told you you had good inventions. I always told you to patent them. I'm telling you now, patent them things. You come from a long line of creative people. Patent your inventions. Get the recognition you deserve for those things that you created. Okay. And I say that to him, but I say that to all you inventors. All you guys, we're inventors. This is the ingenuity that I was talking about. All right, so I had to write it down because there's just so much. And in the comment section of my video, I'm going to give you an YouTube address for a video that just gives you so much. But all you have to do is Google, and you'll find us in there. Nobody's going to tell you. This is why we should never depend on another nation to tell us about our history. We'll get into that later. I have a soapbox on that. Okay. So Dr. Mark Dean is the architect and holds 3 of the 9 patents for the modern PC. He invented the gigahertz processor. So because of him, instead of computers being, when I was young, and this is many, many years ago, young people, when I was young, computers were in like universities. Like, people didn't have computers in their homes or their businesses. Universities had computers. And we were being taught, I was in this program called EOF, and we were being taught like coding. Well, like, yeah, so it was like all ones and zeros. Well, I am slightly, I want to say slightly dyslexic. So I flip numbers and letters like crazy. So trying to do that was making me nuts. It was very frustrating. I couldn't do it. So yeah, so that is like revolutionary. Everybody has a laptop. And then it went from that to like big, bulky desktops. And now you can carry your computer in your bag. And now, well, we'll get into that too. I was going to say in your cell phone, but we'll get into that too. Yeah, Henry T. Sampson designed the tech used in cell phones. So cell phones used to be this gigantic. If you ever see an old Tupac video, I can't even remember. It might even be I Get Around. Is it I Get Around? Well, Tupac videos from like the early 90s and yeah, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, the cell phones were like this big. My daughter was like, "What's that?" They weren't even cell phones, they were called mobile phones back then. So, yeah, so Henry T. Sampson was clutch and like in the architecture, right, of building the cell phone. Jesse Lee Russell was an architect for the modern digital cell phone. All right, so these are all African Americans, but Philip Emeagwali was a Nigerian. And he programmed, back in 1989, programmed the fastest computer to compute. So what he did was he took a bunch of different computers and made them all talk. And what is that? What is a bunch of computers talking? That's like the architecture for the whole doggone internet. That was back in 89. Jerry Lawson created the first video gaming console. James West created the electric mic. So the mics in your cell phone, the mics you use to sing or project your voice, any mics come from his creation. Kenneth Dunkley created 3D glasses. Now this one I kind of don't understand, but I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can. John Henry Thompson created Lingo. And so what Lingo did was pair graphics and computing together. So he like GIFs and those kind of things, all those things are based on his software design, I want to say. His language, his software language. I don't know, but he's a pretty big deal. Shirley Ann Jackson worked for the government, but Shirley Ann Jackson helped create broadband, like fiber optic. Phew, right? Valerie Thomas helped create Landsat. And that's like, I want to say like satellite to land language. So like everything that we get from satellites, like GPS is a program, but it has to be able to communicate with the satellite. I think that's what Landsat is. It's something, she had something to do with NASA. So yeah, it's pretty big. Something to do with space travel. Otis Boykin had the has the patent for the mechanics, the electrical inside of pacemaker. I put Dr. Dean again for an ISA bus. Now, I don't know what buses are, but I know that they're like in the internal framework of the computer. And I know they're important. And I know like when I go back inside and try to do things and I don't know what I'm doing, I come up against things like words like this. So he's in the framework, the architecture of computing. And credited as being the co-creator of the first IBM personal computer. Okay, so here's Otis Boykin. He has electronic resistors, and these resistors are used in computers, missile guidance systems, and pacemakers. That's who Boykin is. Patricia Bath patented a laser device. And this laser device is used still today to remove cataracts. And Dr. Gladys West did the GPS and closed circuit, I think. All right. You guys, we are so creative and have so much ingenuity, but you wouldn't know any of these people. You wouldn't know any of these things because when you look it up, they're not mentioned. Like you have to specifically be going and looking. This isn't information that our kids learn in school. This has to be information that our kids learn from us. And this has to be information that we share with each other. Fam, you are so creative. You have no idea what's inside of you. And nobody encourages you, but I'm encouraging you today. Your invention matters. Look at all these people. Look at what they've accomplished and what their accomplishments have gone on to do. And just because people's name isn't on an invention doesn't mean they weren't in there doing the architecture for it to be supported on. No one's going to tell us about our history. We have to teach our own history. In other nations, the kids go to school and then they have another school that they go to where they're taught their history. And we need to do that. And it's beholden upon our churches, our mosques, our masjids, our temples, our camps, and any other place where Black people gather. It's beholden on us to teach our kids our history. When another nation teaches you your history, they teach you what they want you to know. Whatever they teach you jibes with the agenda that they have for you. So it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to teach our kids as parents, as leaders, as teachers, as institutions in the community. It's our responsibility to teach our kids their history. No one else can teach our history. We teach our history. All right, so that's my rant and rave. There's a joke in my family that my grandpa could fix anything with a little piece of wire hanger and duct tape. And yes, that man could. And yes, that man, my dad told me that my grandpa had an invention. I'll get him to talk about it on communion, or uh, the prayer after communion. Um, this is us, people. You are not stupid. You have a history. You are not less than. You are creative. And this isn't to say that we're better than anybody else, because we're all made in God's image. It's just to say that you're not who they say you are. You are way more than that. And so for all you young kids out there that love your computer and love your computer games, start making them. Start making them. It's that simple. You guys do this stuff so much. It's like second nature to you. Start making games. Start making apps. Start. If I could, I would. I can't, but you can. All right. Well, join us again next time when In His Will Ministry International presents Midweek Message. Until then, bye.